Okay, pjnet.tv. It's 9 p.m. Eastern Coast of the United States. If that's what time it is, you're watching this live. If you're in a different time zone, you know how to do the math, right? That's our bumper that's running, but it gets better, folks. We're recording this. We are streaming this to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And we have some special guests waiting in our green room to share with you, and we will start a countdown to Studio 14. Well, good evening and welcome to, well, guess what? pjnet.tv. I'm your host, Coach Prasick, and you and I are in for a great time in the Lord tonight because it's the only thing better than a first-time guest is a second, or in this case, third-time guest, and it's been a while since we have visited with the Porter family, consisting of, well, here they are, these two. On your left is Ralph, on your right is Barbie, and I'll put that on the screen in case you get them mixed up. Now, y'all don't switch seats because I can't change names. And that does not look like your home. I understand you're having a few problems electrically up there or something.
Bad internet connection because of the storm.
Yeah.
So our pastor was gracious enough to allow us to use the church here at Life Point.
Well, and he was asking how to view this. I guess he figured since he was sort of underwriting it, or he might want to check on, let's see what's going on here, because he may know you two, but he doesn't know me. So, hey, Pastor, if you're out there, thank you for opening your church to this wonderful couple. I don't remember the last time we got together, but it's been a while. But you shared with us about your mission activities in Haiti, and Haiti has been in the news as of late. I think it's always been on your hearts and in your prayers, but is there anything you can share with us that's not generally known about the impact of both the earthquake and some of the storms?
It like our area wasn't hurt or devastated. So the health clinic, the water purification system that we have is all up and running. The road system was already pretty bad. Of course,
They have roads there?
Well, it's
not by our standards. Not
by, you never know when you go around a curve what you're going to run into. So anyway, this has not helped anything, and that's slowing down relief efforts. People getting in. A lot of people want to go in. We're not able to go in. We could go jump on a plane and go, but our clinic directors, which are Haitian, tell us not to because in our area, the food that we would have to eat would be taken away from other people, and there's already a shortage of food, and then the safety concern that they would have to watch over us. So, but we have an excellent staff down there doing excellent work, and they're getting the water purification bottles available. So when the people start coming to our area, which they'll be forced out of their area, if you've seen on the news, they're losing their homes, losing their businesses, losing the road, losing everything that they've got. So they have to go somewhere else, and they gravitate to places that have it. So the first town they come to will get filled, so they have to go to the next town.
Dominoes, yeah.
Hopefully they'll come to us because we have excellent medical facilities. And I'll say this, where God works ahead of us, just it's not been listened 2 months ago. We was contacted, and through our director, we was able to find a doctor who was willing to come to Jolivet and work. This is before the earthquake and all this happened. And of course, we needed a doctor bad. We have excellent RN nurses working, but a doctor. And so that's already set up. The doctor is there performing their work just like the rest of the clinic people are, and getting fresh water and food to the places is a job now. But we're prepared to help and step in and to do that already over there. And so God has really done some things that we didn't know the far-reaching aspect it had about it, but it's showing up real great right now.
Well, there's good news, bad news, and I've never been to Haiti, but I have been within 7 miles of Haiti in the Dominican Republic, where I was doing some mission work. And here's the bad news: when disaster of any type strikes these areas, these homes are not built like homes here. In fact, many people have nothing more than lean-tos made out of brush that they have gathered. And I know it's probably even worse where you were, but that was literally, I saw cardboard thatch lean-tos that were residences, and that wasn't unusual. So the heartbreaking thing is that disasters have more of an impact on their lives than they would have if the same disaster occurred here. That's the bad news. The good news is their standard of living is such that if you bring an MRE, which we bring them by the tens of thousands, that is a banquet to them. Yeah. And they are so blessed with the simplest of necessities. If we run out of toothpaste or deodorant or Q-tips, we have to go into panic mode and run down to CVS. Well, they don't even have those things, at all. And there is no CVS to go to. So when you bring in items that we just take as frivolous, it means the world to them.
It does.
It does. It's just a story that one of many. But we went up into the mountain to a school area to bring some needed things, but mainly to bring worm medicine, little tablets for the children. Mm-hmm. And while we was there, when I grew up, I went to one-room school, but we always had a bucket of water in the back. Water wasn't. We didn't have far to go and get water.
Yeah, it drips off the roof and goes in the bucket. Yeah.
We brought our water bottles with us, but we sat there. They didn't have a water bucket at this school, and so Miss Betty, the nurse, started dispensing the little tablets, and the kids were having to take them without water. And you know how bitter that would be. But a little girl there had brought a little pop bottle full of water to school with her, and she was going around. Barbie and I watched her, almost brought tears to my eyes. She would pour out a cap full of water and give it to her friend, and they would say thank you. You talk about people being grateful for little things. These little kids sitting there, and their little girl, their friend, was giving them a little cap full of water.
It's heartbreaking. When I was in the Dominican, we had set up an outdoor theater with PVC pipe and bed sheets, to play movies, and it was getting dark. And an observation that I made to the missionary I was working with, I said, "Why are some of these children naked?" And he told me the most heartbreaking thing. He said they don't have any clothes. I said, now come on. No, they don't have any clothing. None. No shoes, no socks, no nothing. And your heart, and we get upset when the internet goes out for an hour, we really have it made. And by the way, folks, I mentioned MREs, and not everybody knows what an MRE is. In the military, they used to call them rations. You had your C rations, your K rations, but now it's a prepackaged. It's MRE, meal ready to eat. And there was a day when they put a cigarette in there. Remember that? Ralph, do you remember the cigarette, a little thing of matches? Now they put chiclets. You don't get a cigarette in an MRE, but they're about 4,000 calories. I mean, they are, and you can eat it just right out of the bag. But they actually have a little thing that you can heat up water, with a chemical reaction. And if you ever get a chance, folks, to get an MRE, read the instructions, because it's military. It says, you got to lean this thing on a rock or something. It says, prop this up on a rock or something.
Oh, that's good. But I have to tell you, the one thing that during the crisis, whenever they have them in Haiti, whether it's an earthquake or a hurricane, or even with the assassination recently of their president, they try really hard, the Christians there, to cling to the scripture, to cling to the promises, because it's their hope. It's their only hope. And in conversations with our people from Haiti during these times, I have been under conviction myself, just because their faith is so strong. They will end their conversations with something like, we are still trusting God, and He is so good, and we know that He will take care of us. And, God does, but He often uses people like you and me and others who are willing to step in and give the support or the supplies or the things that they can't get on their own. We become His hands and His feet to help in these endeavors. And to see the people just being so reliant on God to provide their needs, it just changes you on the inside.
It does.
And it's just incredible, and just to see how they are there to help one another too. That's the thing. The last few months have been really difficult in Haiti. Prior to just the last couple, even, they've just been kind of in a downward spiral. And so we've been trying really hard to assist through missions of love, as the board and everything, to do what we can to help them. But like I said, they are resilient in so many ways, but it doesn't mean that they don't need help or that they don't welcome it. And sometimes they just need an encouraging word. Recently received an email from one of our directors, our clinic director, and he had been sick for a while. And so I tried to send, just messages of encouragement, telling him that we were praying for him, and we sent it out to all the board members so that they would know to pray for him. And within a couple, 3 days, he sent back a reply, and he said, "I am better. Thank you so much just for remembering us and praying for us. It means so much." And I think, really that's kind of where we all are, whether we're here in the U.S. and we're in a comfortable place, or we're, sitting under a tarp during a rainstorm in Haiti following an earthquake. We just want to know we've not been forgotten, not by God and not by others. And I think that this is what it's all about. That's what prayer is about, because prayer is the one thing that connects us all through His Holy Spirit, because you can be on the other side of the globe, and you can be going through the most horrendous thing ever, even like the people over in Afghanistan right now. But I believe that when we whisper those prayers for our brothers and our sisters, that it makes a change on the inside. It brings that comfort. It brings that hope that they otherwise wouldn't have. And that's why we do what we do, because we want to share Christ in the best way that we can. And it's not always in the way we wish we could, but yet we do try to do the best that we can through things like this, even just making other people aware of what's going on and how you can help. And honestly, prayer is the biggest thing that we can do. but also just there are other ways that we can do that too.
Well, you mentioned that their faith, their Bibles, is much more in so many ways, much more an integral part of their life, and because they cling to it. Our worship services here, I think we treat God as like an accessory. If you need him, you'll go get him. Take him off the shelf, dust him off, and tell him that he needs to fix your problem, whatever it is. And when the problem is fixed, he goes back on the shelf. At our church, imagine if the pastor spoke for 35 to 40 minutes. People would leave.
Yeah.
No
So
doubt in my
what?
mind. But what if it went on for an hour or two? Well, that's the way it is down there. They don't have church for 20 minutes, people.
That's right.
They don't. And we sit in our comfortable pews. They sit on milk crates if they have some. Fashioned furniture out of anything that they can find, or nothing at all. It's hot. Yeah. It's, turn the air conditioner off in a church in North America, and that sanctuary will pretty much empty. We cancel and suspend our church services for almost frivolous reasons, and when I've gone there, we go there to help them grow spiritually, to share the gospel. But honest to God, I think it grows me more when I see these people who have nothing. Nothing. By comparison, we are so wealthy. There's enough change in your pocket to be wealthy in these countries. They walk for miles. And some of them have actually got one starch white shirt, and they'll wear that shirt. It's 100 degrees out there, but they're wearing a starch white shirt, long sleeve, and
Exactly.
The men have a jacket. Suit
yeah,
jacket.
something.
It'll be 100 degrees, and they'll have that jacket.
Most of the places I served in the Caribbean, men were kind of scarce in church. It was usually the women that were the leadership and the core. And the myth, the story that I was given, is that the men were out drinking the night before, and they're, somewhere in a ditch, sobering up with a hangover. But it was the women, and when they, in our country, we have sort of this spirited debate or two schools of thought about, what should Christian music be like? Should it be like the old rugged cross with choir robes? Or should it be like electric guitars and drums? That's the dialogue we have here. Folks, down there, there's no discussion. We don't know how to worship. When they start singing, they move around.
Yes. And I'll tell you, and this is after a full day of hard labor for most of these women. They have been out to the river with their baskets of laundry, beating them on the rocks and washing them in the water, bringing them back up and hanging them out. They've cooked their one meal a day on their charcoal out in their kitchens, and all this kind of stuff, and plus dealt with the kids and everything else, and shooed away the chickens and the dogs, and as they're doing everything. And then they've walked to church, and a lot of times if they have little children, they're packing those babies, as they're walking, and they get there and they are so happy to be there, and they are so excited to be in the presence of the Lord and to worship, and it's just all over their face, and they attentively sit and listen to the message, and it's nothing unusual to hear amen, amen, coaxing the pastor on and stuff. And it's not just a social place. It's a place where they truly go to get their spirits fed, to help them, and to pray for one another, to meet needs, because a lot of times they don't know how else the need is going to be met. And so they go there wholeheartedly. And then it's so neat because one of the most joyful things about being in Haiti that I've noticed, especially where our mission is there in Haiti, in Jolivet, is as the sun is coming up, it's still not, it's just daylight, but the sun isn't shining yet, but it's light. You can hear them out working in their gardens. You can hear the brooms swishing away the dirt, from the steps, and they're out in their kitchens preparing, but you hear the music. They're singing, they're praising God. If they have an instrument, they're playing their instruments
Yeah.
first thing in the morning.
Well, and some of the things they call instruments, we would call not even suitable for the flea market. I mean, it's it's
But they're proud of them, and
They're
they
very-
do the very best that they can on them. And I mean, it's just so many times I would just lay there in bed and just listen to the praise of God's people. They're in Haiti, people who have so little, but yet they have joy. And that was something that our pastor was hitting on tonight. We were talking about the fruit of the Spirit, and joy being one of them. And my mind immediately went to Haiti, and just the joyful mornings, and then the joyful services that we have when we're at church.
Yeah, we went to church one time. Of course, I belong to the Gideons, and the people were walking up the hill. Of course, most, you got to walk up the hill to go anywhere, just about it.
Yeah, both ways. Yeah.
Yeah, go up the hill. And so I seen this one lady coming, and she had a little Gideon Testament in her hand. And I could read it, so I knew it was in English.
It's in English? Okay.
Yeah, and so she can't talk English, and I can't talk Creole, but I called her over and asked her if I could see the little testament, and she let me see it. And I looked at it. Of course, it was all English. This little lady, couldn't speak it. But she knows she had a Bible. She did know she had a Bible. The Bible says, "The entrance of Thy word giveth light." It gives us hope, like we're talking about. Of course, I had the privilege. I had a Creole Testament, Gideon Testament, so we traded right there on the spot. Whether she could read the Creole or not, I don't know, but one of her children's could.
Well, yeah.
But it was just the I don't know the word to use, to see her coming to church, and she's got a Bible.
Yeah.
And she can't read the Bible. She don't understand, but she knows what's in it. And she knows the God that gave us the Bible. It's pretty awesome to see something like that, and to see the smile on somebody's face when, well, she did when I changed it, when she said it was a Haitian Bible, Creole Bible. So that was awesome.
Some of the culture shock that I've had to deal with is here in the United States, if you rent an apartment or enter into a contract, basically, of any kind, you consider that binding on the landlord, that you've got a place to stay for whatever the term of the lease is. These are routinely violated in many of the countries where I went to. You make an agreement, then they decide to go up on the rent. And if you didn't succumb to that, well, you would find your water getting cut off, and there's all kinds of things that are totally against the law over here. The other thing that I experienced in disaster relief, we would send a lot of material, building supplies, lumber, nailed, the stuff you rebuild with. And they would arrive at the docks, and we would find that the government has instituted a 100% tariff on imported goods during the disaster. And the first reaction is just anger, anger. We're trying. This is humanitarian aid. This isn't, And I believe that anger is justified, but I think when you know more about the culture, you would understand it better. Because when we send stuff over there and send workers over there, that deprives their labor. There isn't much work over there. And it deprives their labor force of, I'm not justifying what they're doing, but also they're dirt poor. And if they do not take advantage of or exploit those opportunities, because you know what we're going to do, we're going to pay it. However unreasonable and it is, and no matter how much it angers us, we're not going to leave the stuff sitting on the dock or send it back home. We're going to pay. And I remember we would occasionally drive into town, which is an ordeal. The roads are not good. But invariably, every day we did that, we would get stopped. And you've got this little guy with a rifle, and so the mission, you show them your necessary papers, and he's not letting you go until you slip him that $20. I remember when we went to Colombia, South America. We were taking expired drugs that had expired here, perfectly good. So we took about $250,000 of drugs into Colombia for a change of pace. And we arrive at Bogota and customs. So there's this long line, and there's several of us, So what we do is scatter ourselves across several lines, And all of a sudden, we see the missionary, on the other side of the little, turnstiles that you have to go through. And he whispers something into a customs official's ear. The customs official comes around, gathers us up. I don't know how much that costs, but probably about $20, something. It is extremely corrupt. And it's hard for us in our country. We enjoy such freedom and such open dialogue in our government. However messed up we might believe it is, and we would probably be correct. But folks, compared to what other people are enduring, we've got it made.
Yeah,
we do.
People don't realize not to have an infrastructure, things just don't go smooth at all. It's hard to get it ahead.
Yeah. Where there is some, goes off every day for about an hour.
Oh.
It's just common. If you have water, if you want to take a shower, you don't linger around. First of all, there's no hot water. Of course, it's about 100 degrees down there anyway. So, but you don't linger too long in that shower, because that water could, as soon as you lather up your hair good, you don't have to worry about that too much, Ralph, but,
we do what they call a military shower. We go, we turn the water on, we get wet, we turn it off. Mm-hmm. We lather up, we turn it on, we rinse, and then we get out of there. So, very fast showers.
When's the next time you anticipate you might be going down to Haiti?
Just as soon as they say that we can.
You got your bags packed?
Right now they tell us, please don't. Of course, it's level 4, so if you go in now, if you do run into problems, the government says you're on your own. Your insurance won't pick up. Mm-hmm. Of course, we have insurance that would help us anywhere to get back home, and they say, no, we won't help you if you go under level 4. But like I say, our directors tell us, you come in, you put us at risk, plus the food that you eat is going to take from somebody else. But if they would call and say, listen, things have changed, you can come in. Of course, they do need us. We've got work that we need to do at our mission, real bad. Mm-hmm. We would go. We'd start going tomorrow. I mean, we would start putting things together. We're just waiting on the word to say we're ready for you, or you can come now, and we're gone.
And we're praying really hard, not just for us and for our mission, but just for the country, so that it will open up. The whole country is in desperate need. And, the people who are there, my heart just goes out to them, the missionaries who have stayed, the families who have stayed and been there and haven't left. We actually have some friends over there that have a mission in Go Naive, and they've not left. They've been there the whole time. Mm-hmm. And we keep in contact with them several times a week. And there have been times when it's been really difficult, and they've shared some really heartbreaking news and different things, but yet to see their faith and their strength in God to stay there and be with the people. for one, the people there trust them now. They know they're really
Right.
there, that they're not going to
For the
leave.
duration. Yeah.
No, yeah, they're there for the long run, and we just continue to pray for them and do what we can, on this end, like I said, to try to do things. But um, God has really been on the move and has been working things out. We were able to take a shipment of barrels to Florida earlier in the year. It was in June, July, somewhere through there, I forget. But we were able to take 17 barrels. We had them shipped and we prayed over them. We had everybody we know saying, please pray over these barrels that they'll get to where they're going. And, they did. And it was really a miraculous thing because when the ship came into port, they didn't come all the way in and they didn't offload like they normally do because the government was initiating a new law that was going to go into effect on Monday, on the following Monday. They had come in on late Friday or early Saturday. And this law was allowing them to go in and open every crate, every barrel, looking for, illegal weapons and things like that, which we understand, but we also know what else that happens with that, So, yeah.
When they open the barrel.
So we were just praying, and so we had been told they're not going to offload until Monday after the law has been enacted.
Right.
So we're like, okay. Well, then all of a sudden on Saturday, late Saturday, we receive a message that says they've come into port, they've got part of the stuff unloaded, we're going to get the rest of it tomorrow. And we're like, really? So they were like, yes. And the neat part of it is, it was on a Sunday, and they offloaded the rest of our barrels. They never opened the first barrel. Our driver was able to take every one of them to our mission. He was never stopped one time by any gangs or anything, and everything arrived safely. And we thank God. And we're seeing the produce of that, the fruit of that, because we had sent some seeds from a program that had, given us some seeds. And now we have beautiful gardens that are growing up in that area because they were able to share them with so many people and even do a garden right there at the mission to help others. So, God's been at work behind the scenes the whole time, even though, we think we have to be there. But, it's like he's saying, nah, I got it. They're my people and this is my mission. But, as bad as we want to be there, we also see that God is working. And, like Ralph said, the doctor coming on board, before all this tragedy even took place, now there's a doctor there to help with those needs. And we have dentists who...
looks like we just have dental work when we're there because of the equipment and everything. We've been training the Haitian dentists over the years that we've been going. And of course, now completely shut down. They're just devastated needing dentists. So we're in the process now. Matter of fact, they contacted us first with a plan to maybe get our office open and usable for the people. And just to make it simple, if people playing regular string guitars, drums, the big drums, with the sticks, and then you turn them loose on electric guitars. They've never seen one, never used one before. Electric drums, you know how long those instruments would last. And that's what I was concerned down there, because once the equipment gets tore up, you're out of business. But anyway, it's gonna work. We've been praying about it. It's gonna work, and we're gonna be able to let a dentist or two, or maybe three dentists go in and work while we're not even there, and we're excited about that because that's our goal to start with. We don't want just dentists when we're there. We want them year round. So we can see God's hand moving in our people there, and go back on the barrel shipment. That was the cheapest shipment we've ever made all the years I've been going. The customs was, I won't say what, but it wasn't bad at all. We give praise to God for that, because it was a much needed shipment to stuff. The people was just, and right now with all the stuff going on in Haiti, the earthquake and all, like saying the need the people are going to have for medical work, it's all set up now because the stuff got there without being pilfered or stolen. of broken. It's awesome. Yeah.
So we give God all the credit for that.
Well, I tell you, it's been great just sharing missionary stories with you, because and I can just see the radiant joy in both of your faces as you share these stories. And when you get involved in this kind of work, you come back and you tell these stories, and I know the reaction that I have gotten when I have been sharing about, like we have tonight. And I think you've probably heard it too, and I wonder how you respond when people say, well, that's all fine and good, but there's a lot of needs right here in our own country that we need to take care of.
Yeah.
What do you tell them?
Well, we said, we just spent 6 weeks at Kentucky Mountain Mission right here in Kentucky, helping with the Bible camp and helping with her. And, you're welcome to come over and help us. That usually ends the conversation.
That's a good one.
But yeah, we do try to do things here at home. And especially since we've not been able to go to Haiti, we have spent a lot of time in the Appalachians at Kentucky Mountain Mission, just preparing for camp this year. At first, we thought we weren't having it. Then we found out we were. So Ralph was working like a madman, bringing in teams, trying to get the electric going and everything for the new shower houses. And thank God that happened. And, so things like that were going on. And then, of course, with the Gideons, there's always this opportunity to pass out Bibles somewhere, sometime to somebody. Even I've been doing that with the medical conventions that have opened back up here in Kentucky. And so actually we have a really busy fall. We have 4 conferences, as a matter of fact, this fall that we'll be participating in. Some of them for the Gideons with Bible distributions, and some of them for Missions of Love. We're going as attendees to, one of the conferences, just so that we can learn more and share with others and see how God wants to grow us. But also, we're going to go to another pre-conference. It's called Tech, and it is a marvelous segue to help people in the mission field, so that they can find out resources available to them and things like that. And so it's a great conference. And we're so glad that we're able to go face-to-face again and do that. And, of course, we don't know what things are going to look like by then. Things could change, but we're praying that we'll still be able to do it like that. But, if you want to serve the Lord, you can find ways of doing that. You don't have to do it overseas if that's not where your heart is, but just, I think it was Henry Blackaby in
Experiencing God.
Yeah, that, you just look for where you see God moving.
Look where God is already working and go join in that work.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I enjoyed that book.
Encourage people to do when they come up with that, because we hear that a lot.
Yeah, well, I figured you did, and when I hear it, to be honest, it's usually from people who they're not doing it here either, and I say, well, tell me your mission story, and of course at that point they kind of wilt, but it's one of those insincere comments anyway. You know what I'm saying? They're just trying to be critical, but Ralph, that's one of the better ones that I've heard. But if they would just listen to your heart, when I just look at the two of you, I assume you're happy all the time, but I can tell that when you get lit up about mission work, it just radiates from within you. And there have been, I don't know how many thousands of hours you all have spent in the mission field, but when you spend that kind of time, there's a lot of high moments. But there's also a significant number of low ones. It gets very frustrating. And I wanted to share with you the highest moment that I ever experienced in literally thousands of hours of volunteer mission work. It was here in the United States, in Norfolk, Virginia. A hurricane had made landfall there. Norfolk is a shipyard and is below sea level. I didn't know that. So when it get a hurricane, it impacts badly. Anyway, and so we were clearing the trees, and you do that for a day where there's no electricity, no air conditioning, no things like, But one of the nice things is that when we get to where our camp is, teams from all over the United States have built these. They get a trailer, you pull along, and it's about 20 feet long, I guess. 20, I don't know, but there'll be like 5 washers down this side and 5 dryers down this side. And in the front, they'll often have a shower unit, if there's any water at all. And so the arrangement is that when we get in, we take our clothes, we get in the shower, and it's sort of like when you go to the doctor's office, you have that little sliding door. You bag your clothes and you put your name tag on it, and you open this little hatch and slide them into the laundry area right there in the shower. And the next morning, you will find your clothes washed, folded, and dried, usually in a white kitchen garbage bag with your name on it. So it was the second day, so we were sore, we were tired, we woke up moving pretty slow, and we went to get our clothes, which we have done on many, many, many occasions, but this occasion was different because it wasn't just a white kitchen garbage bag that our clothes were in. Somewhere in this country, some Sunday school teacher or VBS teacher, somebody must have had some 4th or 5th grade kids. And they had taken white kitchen bags and taken Sharpie markers, crayons, and stickers and said, "You're our heroes."
Wow.
And we all cried like babies. I mean, we weren't tired anymore. We were not tired anymore. You see, because I did learn something in coaching. When you think you're tired, you're really just not inspired.
Right.
It's in there.
Right.
Yes.
And that there's been so many high moments, but I've never seen, and I do not know where that teacher is, but I wish so much I could find that teacher and let them know the impact those little 4th graders had on relieving a disastrous situation in Norfolk, Virginia after a hurricane. And that is the highest moment. And if you want to share your highest moment, we got a little time. We're already way over time, but if you have a high moment you want to share, let's end on a high note.
Oh, I guess my highest moment was the last time we were in there. And this was in March of 2020, April 2020. And I was running on fumes. All kinds of things had happened, even before we left the ground, or while we were up in the air. Ralph's blood pressure medicine had caused his blood pressure to drop extremely low. And it had appearances that he was having a stroke. They landed the plane early in Miami. But as we descended, his blood pressure leveled back out, and he walked off the plane, and they checked him out, and he said, "Well, can I leave?" And they said, "Well, we can't make you stay." He said, "Well, then I'm going to Haiti," and so off to Haiti we went. So that alone makes him my hero. He has that servant's heart, and I know that, and that's why I married him. Part of it, but after we had gotten there, things were really rough in country, lots of bad things going on. And to make a long story short, by the time we had made it to our mission, we'd already heard some really bad stories of things that had happened or could possibly happen. And so I was just pretty emotional and pretty just wrung out. And we went in and we started setting up for the dental clinic. And the next day we finished up the setup and ran the first day. And then the day after that, I remember being so tired and exhausted physically, mentally, and emotionally, just spiritually, everything. And I just prayed and said, "God, I don't think I can get out of bed this morning, but if you'll give me your strength and your grace, I will." And finally I pulled myself out of bed and went down the hill for the dental clinic. And by the way, we didn't have any water. Our water pump had stopped. So we were taking these bucket baths, and So our Haitian dentists, they weren't down there yet because they were still bathing. And so Ralph comes in and he says, "Where's our dentist?" And I said, "They're bathing. It'll be a while." And but I'd been praying, and it just seemed like my prayers were only maybe getting to the roof, if that. I just was really struggling. I had my praise music on and everything, but it seemed like nothing was helping. And he was leaving, and as he goes to the door, he turns around and he says, "Hey, there's somebody here to see you." And I said, "See me?" And he said, "Yeah." And so I went to the door, and it was one of my dear Haitian friends who I had not seen in a long, long time. And I said, "Come in, come in." And she picks me up with this Haitian hug that literally picks you up off the floor. She just swishes me around like I was a little rag doll and hugs on me. And we're trying to talk, and we can't because I can't speak Creole and she can't speak English. And we couldn't find an interpreter. And so I'm trying to tell her that I have your picture on my wall still, you and your baby, and I pray for you every day. And I'm trying to talk to her, and she's looking at me. She's just patting my head, and we're talking and we're laughing, and finally it's just like the Lord stopped me and said, "Don't try to tell her, just show her." So I just leaned her close to me, and I hugged her up, and I started praying for her in her ear. Well, she knew I was praying for her. And so we just stood there embracing each other. And then when I got finished, she started praying for me. And I tell you, it just seemed like something just hit me just right on top of the head. And everything, all my fear, all my frustrations, all of my just weariness of being bone tired just drained completely out of me, all the way down to the floor. And then it was just like something just warm and bubbly just started creeping all the way up to the very top. And, we just laughed and we giggled after we got done praying. And, after that, the rest of the time, I had the energy, I had the strength, I had the joy. And that's what I needed for the journey, because that's how I wanted to be. And God knew that. And so that is my highlight, from going. It's that act of love that, just having friends there, because it's not just about going and doing, but it's about relationship, and it's about having those friends and family that we call them our Haitian family, and it just makes all the difference in the world.
Well, Barbie, that's a moving story, but I want to correct you on something. You said that there was no interpreter. I challenge you that there was.
You are so
and there
correct.
is.
I stand corrected on that. Okay. You're so right. Yes.
I appreciate everybody staying a little late. I noticed in the chat room the tired and inspired story. I'm going to tell you the origins of that story go back to 1977. Now, folks, please don't let this get out, because this is one of my keynote speeches that I normally charge for. But no one's hired me, so I'll just give it to you for free. But it changed my life. And, people call me coach because you're going to hear why I am so honored when people refer to me as coach. Because this happened in 1977. It was on August the 15th. Wow. That was traditionally, or by law, the first day that you could practice football officially. And the coach would set up traffic cones, those orange traffic cones at the corners of the football field. And when we were told to run laps, woe be unto the entire team if anybody cut inside that cone. And so I remember coming down the back, the back side of the field, which is near some blackberry bushes that are thorny. One of the players was on his elbows and knees vomiting. We were that, and the rest of us were barely moving. You could have walked faster than we were trying to run. We were honestly completely exhausted. So, but when we come to the corner, when we see that cone, we kind of cluster up a little bit. So when we go around that cone, we'll all kind of kick that cone in a little bit, slide it in, you know. Of course, the coach picks the cones up after practice. But we were high schoolers. And we came to that corner, and one of the players, when he was trying to slide that cone with his foot, the cone tumped over like that. And there was a snake. And someone hollered snake. And we bolted out of there like a covey of quail. Coach, there's a snake. And our coach walked over, picked up the artificial snake that he had planted there, held it up, and said, I thought you all were tired. Seems to me that you were just not inspired. Maybe we need to run some more.
Wow. Well, I'm glad God didn't use a snake on me that day.
Yeah. But that impacted me to this day. Don't we all get tired when you just say, Lord, I just can't go on? And you mean it. You believe it. But next time you're in that situation, imagine that the house was on fire. Would you summon some energy you might not have had? Imagine that your son or daughter were in that house. You would, yeah. Folks, I don't know what the limits of human endurance is. I don't think there are any. But it changed my life. And I gave that speech at my coach's 70th anniversary party, or 70th birthday party. And we had church that night, okay? It was fun. You all are such a joy. Just every time you come here, you leave us energized and enthused, and there's so much bad stuff going on out there. Thank you all for sharing a message of hope and encouragement and joy and abundance and love. And Ralph, you're a good man, and you're a lucky one too. You don't deserve. By the way, what is your pastor's name?
Rodney Alban.
Say it again.
Rodney Alban.
Okay. Let him know that we appreciate him extending the hospitality of the facilities that you all are using to make this possible, and that he had a part in sharing some wonderful stories. And we just we love you so much, and it's great to hear from you again. And
great encouragement to us to do these things.
Keep doing what you're doing. We love you, brother and sister. All right.
One more thing.
Go ahead. I'll bring you back. Come on. All right, I'm bringing you back. Come on.
Speaking of our church and how wonderful it supports us, I'm working on this book for Missions of Love, Journey to Jolivet. And as a book for children, a lot of times you're encouraged to find your own illustrators. But we have a young man in our church, and he's only 15 years old, but he is an extraordinary artist. Yeah. And so I approached him about trying to, do the illustrations for this book. I showed him some pictures. I gave him some thoughts of what I had, and he brought in some samples. When was it? It was Wednesday or Sunday. Anyway, they were just awesome. And so I was so excited. And I know that that's a God thing, him opening that door up. And I'm excited. His name is Landon Shepherd.
And next time we have this, I want you to send me those pictures so we can share them. You have no idea the opportunity that you might be launching in that young man.
Yes. Yeah.
I know that you're grateful for what he's doing for you, but there's also the Lord could be using you to set him on a path, on a mission that God has for him. And it started with the two of you. Wouldn't it be great to tell that story in about 10 years?
Oh yeah, when I can say I remember him when. Yeah.
I'm glad we got to hear that, Barbie. Thank you so much. We love you both, and let's do this again sometime and talk some more and see those pictures.
All right. We love you, Coach Tracy.
Thank you.
For everything.
Well, folks, that was wow. You know what you're looking at? You're looking at the Eagle's Eye view of the Eagle's Nest broadcast facilities from which the PJNet.TV program originates. I know we've gone an hour, haven't we? There's so much I would love to share with you. Some things are happening that are really, really amazing. And I hinted a little bit last time. We have often, I'm only going to keep you a minute. We'll talk more later. But several times people have said, we need to have a PJNet reunion. Well, we're going to have one. We're working on a charter bus to leave North Carolina to pick people up and bring them. And we'll tell you more about that as time goes on. Well, we're going to sign it off. Before I do, let me challenge you to ask yourself these 2 questions that have helped me in my walk with Christ. What is the boldest thing that you've ever done for Jesus Christ? And how long ago was that? And I hope that none of us will be satisfied with either answer.